On the 27th of March 1942, one of the most prominent resistance fighters in western Serbia was brought out during World War II for his execution. He was someone who had led a partisan detachment to take up arms against the German soldiers, and he knew the risks associated with this. Stevan Borota was taken up to the gallows in the centre of Valjevo, and he was in front of the crowd, helped onto a step, and the noose was secured around his neck. His executioners were the Chetniks, and they would be ruthless in their condemnation and killing of the partisan fighter. The executioners were in the pockets of the Nazi authorities too, but what happened that day on the gallows would haunt the thoughts and minds of many people for years to come after World War II had come to an end. Welcome to The Untold Past. To support our channel, please make sure to subscribe. Stevan Borota was born in what at the time was Austro-Hungarian territory, and what today would be considered Croatia, on the 14th of November 1898. He had a rather normal upbringing and attended an agricultural school. However, he struggled to find a job in farming, and because of this he went back to school and worked as a mechanic, and he even travelled to Canada and America to find work. Due to the Great Depression that hit in the 1920s, Borota travelled back to Yugoslavia, and he lived back home with his mother. He married and did have a son. However, when the Second World War broke out, his life would turn upside down. Stevan was in contact with the Communist Party of Yugoslavia in Belgrade, and he was someone who was a communist. This of course put him in significant danger and harm's way, as he shared the enemy ideology of the Nazis, and they swore to wipe out communists and Bolsheviks with brutality. World War II inside of the land began on the 6th of April 1941, when the country was invaded and was quickly conquered by the Axis forces, and it was then partitioned amongst Germany, Italy, Hungary, Bulgaria, and different regimes which were placed in power. The communist-led Yugoslav partisans and resistance fighters then embarked on a long guerrilla war against the Axis forces and those puppet governments who were instilled into power. There was also a civil war ongoing between the partisans, the Serbian royalist Chetniks, the Nazi allied Ustasha, and the Serbian Volunteer Corps, as well as many other groups. The Chetniks would to begin with resist the German invasion, but they soon began to collaborate with the Axis occupation forces, and they committed scores of horrific war crimes against civilians. Stevan Borota joined the Partisans in August 1941, after travelling from Belgrade to sign up in the village of Grabovac. He was part of a group of fighters, and they were successful, having liberated an entire area quickly. But he was a skilled fighter, and he was part of one of the largest partisan detachments in Serbia. He was a brave fighter, and took part in many different battles. However, in Valjevo, a local official noticed that the partisans were beginning to establish some forces and influence there, and the president of the local region informed his brother about this, who was an intelligence officer for the Germans. This intel then got back to the German forces, and soon after a German unit arrived and attacked the partisan fighters of the 2nd Company of the 3rd Tamnava Battalion, and they were forced back. Many of the partisans were at the time wounded, and Borota fought well, but following the attack the Germans executed 6 residents, who were found to have been providing shelter to Borota's partisan unit. Borota continued to be known for his daring bravery, and he was recognised for this by the Supreme Partisan Headquarters, and in one commendation it was said that they expressed recognition and gratitude to the commander of the 2nd Company, Comrade Borota, who set an example to the fighters with his heroism in the fiercest battle. He was celebrated for the fact that he fought valiantly against German troops, and he continued to fight on against not just the Germans, but also the Chetniks. In February 1942, a new detachment was formed, and Borota found himself in this, but on the 27th of February 1942, he was involved in a large battle, and in this he was captured. Borota was sent to a special prison in Belgrade, and he was interrogated. He claimed in this that, "I joined the partisan ranks only as a great nationalist, but never as a communist, and I had the only wish that the Serbian nation be freed from the occupation and dedicate itself to its upliftment. In terms of the crimes, i.e. killing outside of the battle, I know that I can speak positively about only 4 cases during my company's activities, with political delegates sentenced 2 men to death under the suspicion and accusation that they tipped off the Germans where we were, and they came and attacked us. He admitted to a number of attacks which resulted in people's deaths, but as a partisan commander he claimed that, I personally not only did not take part in the pronouncement of death sentences or any other sentences, but I did not attend the execution of the sentence, let alone carry out the murders myself. He tried to deny being involved in the executions of Chetniks and the enemies. However, fellow partisans who were arrested did claim that Borota had sentenced people to death who were captured. For his actions in fighting and leading partisan forces, Stevan Borota was sentenced to death, and he would be subjected to a ruthless public execution. On the 22nd of March 1942, Stevan Borota was brought out of his prison cell and was led out into a large public square inside of Valjevo. This was a place where many executions would take place during the Second World War, and especially those who were partisans and had been captured lost their lives here. The gallows that stood was large, and it had a wooden frame, which had a significant crossbeam attached to 2 uprights, and there was space for more than 1 person to be executed. Borota was joined by another partisan on the walk to the gallows, and he was paraded by Chetnik forces before he arrived at the gallows, and he was then helped up a step. The Chetnik guards cheered and whistled, and many people had been summoned out of their homes to watch the proceedings. One Chetnik helped Borota onto the step under the gallows, and then the executioner stood him up on a stool, and he tied the noose around the top of the gallows, and then secured it around Borota's neck, and made sure it was secure. Another official stood opposite him, and he read loudly the death sentence to the crowd, so they could hear what crimes these men had committed. After this, the step was then removed, and the gallows structure here did not intend to snap the neck of Borota, but instead slowly strangle him to death. He struggled for some time, but then his body came to a rest after a few minutes, and his remains were left hanging from the gallows for some time, to act as a reminder to those inside of Valjevo not to get involved in resistance activities. There were many partisans who during the Second World War incurred the brutality of their enemies if they were captured. Despite being considered one of the most successful resistance groups, many of them would, if captured, be sentenced to death, and they were tortured before their execution. The German authorities dealt with them ruthlessly, and even executed teenage girls who had joined the cause, and they would not spare anyone. But many of the partisans, like Stevan Borota, were devoted to their beliefs and the group, and they wanted to do whatever they could to liberate their homeland from occupation. Thanks for watching. To support our channel, please make sure to subscribe, and once again, thank you so much for watching.